Welcome to my first review. After playing Silent Hill 2, I felt so strongly about it that I just had to review it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like the video, hit the bell for any upcoming videos. And without further ado, I give you the Silent Hill 2 review.
I don't need you anymore. I'm ready.
Silent Hill 2, a fan favorite of the series, gets its much deserved iteration into the new gen era. Everything about this game is amazing, from the visuals, the soundtrack, the sound design, enemy design. It's all great and just brings it all together. And this is all thanks to Kojima bringing in creature designer Masahiro Ito and the original composer Akira Yamaoka. Staying faithful to the original, keeping the fog in the town of Silent Hill, yeah, looking at you, Silent Hill 2 HD collection. I truly believe this game will give not only those that are fans of Silent Hill series, but newcomers as well an experience to remember. Going through the town of Silent Hill, the fog enveloping everything around you, keeping your sightline close when you start hearing the radio static, letting you know an enemy is close, really gives a sense of unease they capture perfectly in the remake. And you know you're in for one hell of a ride when before you even start playing, this warning pops up with a QR code leading to a help hotline. The first thing I want to address is the combat. The game puts combat second and the horror first, with disturbing creatures that all have symbolism for the most part to James and why he's being punished in Silent Hill. For example, the lying figure, or the mannequin enemies, each having a symbolic reason for James's internal torment, and especially so, the poster boy of Silent Hill, Pyramid Head. Enemies are fairly spread apart, at least on the normal difficulty I played on, making it rare to have more than 3 enemies at a time. But the way the enemies move, attack, and how much damage they can take unless you know their weakness really makes every encounter a thrilling one, even with so few enemies on the screen at once. Especially when enemies seemingly get up even after stomping them motionless, really keeps you on edge around any corpses left behind. Boss fights are amazing in this game, each one having a unique gimmick to them, same as the original, with an updated sound design and soundtrack that really keeps you on the edge of your seat. Like the first time you fight against Pyramid Head and he goes into his second phase, it really put me in a state of shock combined with the sound speeding up alongside him. I mean, just take a listen for yourself. And as you've just seen right there, right after the phase change, the momentum completely shifted, really turning my rhythm on its head, making simply dodging slow attacks difficult because of it. The rhythm coming not only from Pyramid Head himself moving faster, but also the rhythm of the game with the soundtrack behind, even though the sound in this particular boss fight is fairly simple, really just made the rhythm of dodging attacks, knowing when attacks are coming, and everything like that, really difficult just because of how well the game uses its soundtrack and its sound design in a way to really cause the game to have a certain momentum shift whenever it pleases. And the game continues to use its sound design, its soundtrack, as a way to keep the player on edge. You could be walking down a hallway, no enemies around, anything like that, and the game will start picking up its music out of nowhere. And of course, if you've ever played video games before, you would immediately think there's enemies around, when most of the time, there is no enemies. It's just the soundtrack trying to keep you on edge. And though it did a very good job at doing this, eventually, by the end of the game, I was just completely numb to it because it happened so often.
I do think that maybe they should have toned back the music change, trying to fake out players into thinking there's enemies around when there's not. It just became really stale very quickly. I would also like to clarify, I only died 4 times in my playthrough, and each time was to Pyramid Head. I feel other than Pyramid Head himself, the game it's not really that punishing, at least on the standard difficulty. So if you think that you're having a little bit too easy of a time and you want a more difficult time as far as combat is involved, well, you can change that any time in the game. However, the only thing you can't change as far as difficulty is concerned is the puzzle difficulty. This game has 2 different difficulty sliders depending on exactly what you want to do. Do you want easier combat, difficult puzzles? You can do that. Do you want harder combat and easier puzzles? Well, you can do that. Do you just want standard puzzles and harder difficulty? You can mix and match however you want at the beginning before you start playing. However, after you start your game, you cannot go back and change the difficulty of the puzzles, but you can in fact change difficulty of the combat at any point in time. And the endings, they all make a comeback in this game from the original, every single one. And on top of that, after you beat the game for the first time, you then have access to New Game Plus, which introduces, well, more unique and original endings for this game specifically, on top of new weapon and items as well during your New Game Plus playthrough. And after beating the game, getting the ending I wanted the first try, and I felt sad. I felt remorse for beating the game. I felt a emptiness that the game was over and I didn't have anything else to play now. Although my library is full of games that I haven't played, I didn't want to play any of them. I wanted to play more Silent Hill 2. And yes, there is more replayability as far as endings and New Game Plus goes, but it just goes to show that I had remorse for beating the game. The game was over before I wanted it to be. And I think that really goes to show how good the game is. Now, I have been talking quite a bit about how good the game is, but surely this isn't a 10 out of 10 game, and no, it's not. So let's talk about the bad. Now, even though the creature design is some of the best out there, the character design, not so much. Especially when in cutscenes, sometimes the characters just feel not human. The way they move, the way they're animated, the way they interact with objects around them. Sometimes it just looks off, especially the time whenever you see Eddie in the movie theater is one point of interest. But there are pretty good examples of great animation, so it's not really consistent. The voice acting is another point that sometimes just isn't consistent. It feels as if I'm back in the voice acting era of the PlayStation 1 era of voice acting, and other times it's done really well. I wish that the game had a little bit more consistency when it came to these type of things, when it came to voice acting and character design and animation. Again, sometimes the animation just doesn't quite look right, and sometimes it doesn't look right and you can't really put your finger on what makes it look so weird. The other crap I have is with James, the main character. A lot of the times he doesn't feel like he's in a hurry. He gets hit and he stumbles around, not in a hurry at all to recover and try to get out of the way. The other thing is in the game, he doesn't really say much about what's going on around him. He's not a faceless character, and I don't see the point in him not saying much about the nightmare he's going through. A lot of the times, he has very little to say. He maybe has a muffled groan or says something forgettable. Now, even though previously in the video I said that they put combat second, and they do, I also want to compare it and talk about it a little bit more. Compared to the original game, combat seems to be more incentivized. Creatures are more fast and aggressive, and there's no more going through doors and they stop at the doorway. They go right through. Meaning that, at least in the indoor areas, you are incentivized to kill everything in your way, and you do. Now, they do give you the tools to do so, at least in the standard difficulty. You never really run short of ammo as long as you're trying to be slightly conservative with what you get. The developers over at Blooper made a really great combat system, and they want you to use it. This really goes to show in how many mannequins there are. At least compared to the original, there seems to be a lot more mannequins in this game. It's actually more surprising to go into a room and there's not a mannequin inside. The other complaint I have, and it's actually one of the only ones I have about level design, is how in the other world it's pretty much all the same. There is no really that big of a differentiating factor when it comes to going through, let's say, the other world in the apartments and the other world in the hospital. The design is pretty much the same, reminiscing that of the Silent Hill movies, and I really wish they would have made a little bit more of a difference in how these areas are designed. Now, apparently, the PC version of the game had some issues with loading crashes. You went to load a game and it would crash. Now, I won't go too far into detail with that because as I played on the PlayStation version, I didn't really experience that. It is just something that I saw and read in some forums and some other streamers. Now, after this, we're going to go ahead and get into my final thoughts. The developers over at Blooper did a very good job at showing what the Silent Hill franchise can do in this generation of games. It actually makes me really excited to see what else they can bring to the table. Do we maybe have a new Silent Hill game coming in the future? It's too soon to tell, and I haven't even heard any rumors, but it really makes me excited, especially that playing this game, it really shows that Blooper have come a long way from their previous endeavors. And probably one of my best compliments I have for this game, aside from the gameplay and everything else, is that Pyramid Head is actually scary again. He's no longer just like a toothless mascot, he's actually terrifying. Something that you fear, and I really liked how they did it with him. I really liked how they made Silent Hill's poster boy less of a poster boy and more of a terrifying enemy. I had such a good time playing this game that I really hope that anybody who's never played the Silent Hill series before will definitely check it out in this new era. It is such a fun game. Terrifying as it is and psychological horror, I really enjoyed it. And I really hope that anybody who's maybe even slightly interested in it would definitely check it out. Why? Well, I hope for more. Seeing how Blooper handled this, I really hope that we get more new stories, more psychological horror in this sense and in this kind of build that we probably haven't seen in quite some time. Yes, the Resident Evil series got remastered or remade, and so did the Dead Space 1, but not Silent Hill. Silent Hill has been left astray and put aside by Kojima for so long that we thought the series was dead. Other than just having, some appearances by Pyramid Head and other characters in other games like Dead by Daylight, we really wanted a standalone game, and we got it here. And I'm thirsting for more, and I don't think I'm the only one. Now it's time for the rating. Though ratings are just arbitrary numbers, just opinions giving a numerical value, I try to make it a little less arbitrary. For example, the Golem game is a 1, being almost not even a video game itself, and a 10 I've never played, but a 9 would be something along the lines of like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. With that being said, I give this game an 8. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed making this review, and I really hope to make more. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, hit that like button, and comment down below of what you thought and maybe what other game you'd like to see a review on. I do stream on Twitch, I'll be posting that link down below, so feel free to come by and say hi and see what I'm doing. Until then guys, thank you so much, and I hope to make another one.